Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It's been a while since we've done a Biomimicry Online live episode, so thrilled to be back so we can speak to Sue Swain about a few more things. Thank you so much for joining wherever you are. If you're watching on replay, you can still get involved as usual. You can post your questions, your comments, get involved as much as you can. If you're watching us live, then please do get involved with any questions or comments or feedbacks or thoughts or anything. Remember, this is all about community, so we really want to get your thoughts and what you think about some of the topics that we're going to be speaking about. So over the previous 11 episodes, we've basically gone through the Biomimicry Online modules that we've been developing over the last couple of years. And we sort of started from module 1 all the way up to module 6 and kind of touching on some of the lessons there. Next up, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be touching on just some of the themes and some of the sort of topics that are highlighted in some of those. And we're going to bring Sue on to chat about one in particular today. But before that, let's just have a quick look back at some of the sort of modules we've covered. So module 1, which is Biomimicry as a Way of Being, was the introduction to the Biomimicry Online course. And it really started to look at discovering some of the secrets and thriving on Earth, and including sort of where we've come from, where we are now, and where we could be heading to with the right kind of inspiration and through the practice of biomimicry. We then moved on to module 2, which was all about rediscovering our planet. And this was taking a step back and looking at planet Earth, the setting, the Goldilocks Planet, and then this lovely concept called Spaceship Earth and all the operating conditions and the absolutely ingenious crew, and then what it is required to be a good biomimic. So fantastic module there for module 2. Module 3, we then started to look at reconnection with self. So essential elements of biomimicry. Why aren't we fitting in? Remembering who we are, changing some of our perceptions, and then reconnecting with self. We then moved on to module 4, which was about reconnecting with fellow life on Earth. So some of the ways of reconnecting and the ways that we can do that, things like journaling, looking at the various lenses, the system lenses, and then reconnecting via Earth's operating conditions, as well as stepping into another's shoes. So some fantastic lessons in that module 4 there. And then the second last module, module 5, all about learning from life. So lessons in resourcefulness, resilience, and community living. Absolutely fantastic module. And then finally, module 6 was applying life's lessons. So coming full circle, really looking back all the things we've covered, but also then that need to live a little bit differently and looking at life's blueprints and some tips for applying life's blueprints. So I think without further ado, we need to bring Sue onto this topic so we can talk about our next topic. Hello, Sue. Thank you so much for joining. Great to see you again. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thanks, Raj. And it is very good to see you again, too.
I know. When you look back at all those modules we've covered, it's all of a sudden, it is quite amazing how much we've managed to do, actually, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I think it was a really good exercise for me too, as it really deepened my understanding and application of biomimicry, which has been wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, a learning experience for me. Reapplications for you, and hopefully the people that have started to take the course. A great learning experience, and I know that without doubt, everyone that has signed up for it has absolutely loved it. So please do get involved in that. Go and check it out on the Expedition Project website. It's all sort of sold individually, module by module. So don't feel like it's a daunting task that you have to sign up for the super big, expensive course. You can obviously do the whole course, or you could just sign up module by module and just take it step by step, which is a really fun sort of new way of doing it. So Sue, we've had a bit of a discussion recently, and sorry, you were going to say something.
No. Sorry, I was just saying, you do it in your own time as well. So yeah, that's also quite nice. Yeah.
No, definitely. And so we had a bit of a chat recently, and we decided that we were going to start to look at some of the themes and some of the little the topics that sort of came up in each of some of those modules. And we're going to start off with our first one tonight. Is that right?
Absolutely. Our Goldilocks Planet.
Okay, so Goldilocks Planet. Now, obviously, when you think of Goldilocks Planet, this is what comes to mind straight away, isn't it? So maybe you want to sort of talk us through what that's all about.
Well, exactly. I think it's quite an appropriate name. I mean, if we cast our minds back to Goldilocks and the Three Bears, it was essentially about Goldilocks wanting to have everything just right, and that's really what we've been gifted with, is this absolutely perfect planet. And one of the reasons why I really like to focus on this in the beginning is also to just set the context. And if I ask most people, if I say the word Earth and a word association with that, very few people come up with the word home. And I really would like to see people having a shift in perspective and just awareness of what we have been gifted with. And it is the most extraordinary planet, the only one still known to sustain complex life. And it's the one we should be calling home and treating as such as well.
Yeah. So do you think it's a good time to just show a little bit of a clip of one of the lessons that you put together on the Goldilocks Planet? Shall we show that?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
So let's check this out.
You see, out of this countless number of planets, for us to be the only one to have life, some pretty extraordinary circumstances and conditions had to have come together to make it possible for life to have emerged in the first place, and to have been sustained so far for 3.8 billion years. So what does a planet need to provide or do to sustain life? Let's see. Water is a key ingredient for life, but it needs to be liquid water. You see, one of water's contribution to life is that it's an amazing solvent and transport system, dissolving the chemicals needed for life and transporting them to and from and within cells that use those chemicals for energy and growth. And a small pool or puddle of water wouldn't do. Plenty is required, and Earth ticks that box just perfectly, with 70% of its surface being covered in liquid water. Of course, to have liquid water means the temperature of the planet must be just right. Too hot, the water would simply evaporate. Too cold, it would freeze over. Earth's average temperature is an ideal 15 degrees Celsius. But to have the right temperature means you have to be the right distance from the stellar source of your heat. And in this, Earth has picked her spot perfectly. It's called the Goldilocks zone, the sweet spot around a star where water can remain in a liquid state.
There we go. Great little intro summary there of just what you were speaking about, that Goldilocks zone. Now, I've found another sort of interesting little image, which obviously breaks down some of that as well, which is fascinating to see, how lucky and rare at the same point we are, right?
Absolutely. If we were to actually put on a set of cards all the factors that came together to make it possible for us to be here, I mean, it's this incredible network of interconnected things that had to happen. I mean, water is one of them. And the extraordinary thing about that is, things we always speak about, the fact that 70% of the planet's surface is covered in water, which is essential if you're going to support a diversity of complex life. As was mentioned there, you can't just have a pool or a puddle. But what we also don't realize is how important that is to moderating the overall temperature on the planet, because that huge volume of water basically absorbs the heat from the sun and then starts spreading it more evenly around. So there's just so many wheels within wheels in terms of how this planet has been put together and how things have developed. And apart from then being in the sweet spot, because imagine that huge volume of water, you have to have the exact ideal temperature, to keep it in a liquid state. If we were further from the sun, like Mars, I mean, Mars' average temperature is minus 165 degrees Celsius. Why on earth we want to go there, I'm not too sure. But anyway, and then Venus, that is the next planet to us closest to the sun. I mean, I think her average temperature is 465 degrees Celsius. So there the water would just be evaporating all the time. And in Mars, a lot of it would be, frozen in that. So it's quite extraordinary. And then, of course, you go into the atmosphere that we have. And it's just, it's not just about air for breathing. That's the main thing that we think of when it comes to an atmosphere. And I do forest immersions of late, and we actually go through this when I start the immersion. And, I'm mostly dealing with adults who've all been to school and that. And I would say about 80% can't exactly answer just, what percentage of our atmosphere is oxygen. And these are like the basics that we do get taught at school, but they're not taught with great relevance. And that. And, and apart from the air that it gives us to breathe, it protects us from the harmful rays of the sun. But those harmful rays are the UV rays. But of course, we need just enough UV rays to come through, because that stimulates the production of vitamin D, which gives us strong teeth, bones, and muscles. So you actually need the UV rays as well. So, you start to get, again, the complexity of the layers, even of the atmosphere, that have to be just the right ideal thickness, density, makeup, etc. And then, of course, also keeping in the warmth, that greenhouse gas layer that, is a big no-no in terms of climate change conversations and things like that. But without it, we would freeze over. So again, it's understanding just the very delicate balance that, carbon dioxide should be in the region of 0.04% of the Earth's atmosphere. I mean, it's that level of detail that had to be, considered and everything. So, and I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to all the things that have come together. So, yeah.
I was going to ask you, about the crossover into your forest immersion that you do, and how you bring this into it. So glad that you touched on that. But just to jump back a little second, back to before that, back to the water side of things. So, I mean, what I found fascinating about just even that little clip, let alone the full lesson and that module, is I sort of forgot that water is just as important for transportation as it is, as everything else. And, you sort of forget that, how integral it is just in moving things from one place to another as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and what I've also found fascinating is how everything, that happens on a micro scale also happens on the macro scale, because yes, we use it for transporting, via ship and things like that, but it's the transport system that takes nutrients and that into our cells, and where chemical reactions can take place, so it's fascinating when you start really delving into this. Yeah.
And then, so with the context of biomimicry, and then maybe sort of linking up to your forest immersion, all of that, why is it important to understand these elements and these operating conditions and the Goldilocks side of things? Why is it something that you want to start with and have that as a starting point?
Look, with biomimicry is the fact is that everything that happens in nature, all the designs, the features, everything is based on our earthly context. So we absolutely have to understand how our planet operates. in order for us to either design and innovate in a way that is fit for purpose and in a way that fits in and belongs on our planetary home, and also just for how we should be living. So it is absolutely critical. And what's very rewarding is how the people really take to this particular exercise, that they really, it just opens their eyes again, and it makes us feel both humble and grateful and just, wow, what we have been gifted with. And yet, I think it does bring up, some realization of, what on earth are we doing then? I mean, so much has been, put into place to make it possible for us to be here. And I think one of the key points that I also love bringing across relates to atmosphere. That our planet has made it possible with her size and gravitational pull and everything to keep an atmosphere in place of a particular density, thickness, and makeup. But it is life itself that has just determined the chemical makeup and created the conditions. So when the Earth first formed and it was, much hotter than it was, and it was all volcanic eruptions and everything, we did not have a 21% oxygenated atmosphere. It was mostly methane and carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide and all sorts of nasties that only, microbes could possibly survive in. But if you want complex life to thrive, you need an oxygen-based atmosphere. But again, it's 21%. I think if it goes up to something like 26%, our cells would burn up. Down to 16%, we can't thrive, as we know. That's what it is like at the top of Everest, and you can't thrive for any length of time there. So I'm losing my train of thought here because I get so passionate. But yeah, so it's actually life itself, and specifically the trees and the plants and the ocean plants, the algae and all of that have created over time and now maintain that 21%, those ideal operating conditions. So life is called to contribute. There's no free lunch as such. And that's what we need to get is as a species, how do we learn to also contribute to creating the conditions in which all life can then flourish and flourish over the long term. So, yeah.
I mean, it's such a fine line, exactly as you've just said. And I guess what came to mind with me is just in even you just exploring that for a couple of minutes there, how much it can put everything in perspective, how much it can be quite humbling, how much it can start to help us to once again move without sort of, I suppose I'm going to end up quoting you by accident again, is what I was going to say, is that basically by inadvertently, you're starting to do that reconnecting, which are the later modules and all of that. But it's just automatically, you can't help but reconnect then, I guess.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. Because you suddenly get a fresh perspective. You start seeing things with new eyes, with a different mindset. And that's always been one of the things I love about biomimicry is that shift in learning about nature to learning from, to not considering her merely a warehouse of resources to extract from, but understanding she's a library of solutions to learn from, or a living guide that we can actually derive wisdom from. Because, I always have such a giggle at, I think it was in the 1800s or late 1700s or something that we first named ourselves Homo sapiens sapiens, the wise man. Somewhere along the line, we dropped off the one sapiens, but I mean, we're not, we're not acting in any kind of way that is wise. If you start to understand and respect our planetary home and her operating conditions. So the Goldilocks Planet is merely to raise awareness of what an extraordinary home we have. When we go into the spaceship Earth side of things, it's then really understanding how she functions, how she operates. and that there are limits and boundaries, and how do we function in such a way as to respect and turn those limits and basically surf the opportunities that limits and boundaries bring, to quote Janine Benyus. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. So just to bring everyone up to speed again, if you're just tuning in or you're watching this on replay, we're just touching on a few little areas with this live stream and subsequent live streams having covered 11 episodes before now, where we're sort of going through the modules. So I guess, Sue, the objective about these, sort of just touching on some of the themes, is it's not so much going into more detail, because you can obviously explore that in the courses, but it's just having a little bit of an extra think about some of these themes and getting conversation going and seeing where that takes us, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it is just to help, just turn on some light bulbs, to say maybe there's a different way of thinking things. Maybe I never considered it in that way, just spark that curiosity. I think right in one of the first episodes, it speaks about needing to tap into our childlike curiosity. And yes, curiosity, humility, a sense of wonder and awe. I'd love these conversations to help stimulate that, which would hopefully then draw people into wanting to understand more and seeing what lessons they could really take from this all to start living in a way that it contributes, basically. Yeah.
So anyone watching this, live on replay, please share in the comments, what you thought about, this, just touching on this little topic tonight. Any feedback, any thoughts, any things that came to mind, we want to hear it all. So please do let us know. And then, definitely tune in for future ones where we start to just move through some of those themes that, are covered in the modules, and just start to touch them. So Sue, is there anything else you want to sort of finish up with regards to the Goldilocks Planet?
I think to just really spare a thought for our planetary home, and maybe just start asking yourself, how do I really feel about Earth? The term Mother Nature didn't just fall from the sky. Our ancestors just had this deep understanding. And do we consider her our mother, our nurturing, our alma mater, nourishing mother? So I think just to really start to open up the space in our minds and our hearts to think differently, which would hopefully lead to us acting differently then too.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for joining us again tonight and having a little chat about this. Looking forward to the next chat where we can delve into another little theme. But just once again, a reminder to everyone, any thoughts, any topics you'd like us to potentially explore or look at in the future, feel free to send that in as well. And just any feedback. And if you're in Sue's area of the Garden Route of South Africa, then do get in contact with her, because she does some amazing forest immersion walks and tours and talks, and just absolutely incredible. So obviously do get in touch with her if you can. And if you're interested in Biomimicry Online, then go and check out the expeditionproject.com/biomimicry online. And you can go and see what's available there, because there's some really inspiring, really humbling, so many fantastic little aspects to learn from with what Sue's picked up over the years. And we're just proud to be talking about it once again. So thank you so much, Sue. Thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to chatting again.
Thanks, Roger. And many thanks to you too.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. See you soon.
Bye.